Ravens versus Commanders joint practice day 1. Let's get into it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to TTB Ravens Media, bringing you Ravens content every single day. If you want to see that daily Ravens content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. Hit the notification bell as well if you want to get notified every single time I upload a brand new video. In this video today, I like to do these recap videos, especially on like big practice days. And the biggest practice days, of course, are the joint practices. It's really the first time you get to understand, okay, how well do these players play against opposing defenses, against opposing offenses? How good are these rookie wide receivers, rookie cornerbacks, whatever position it may be? How do they line up against actual opponents rather than your own team? Because it's always difficult to judge, right? When you see Zay Flowers cooks Marlon Humphrey, you're like, let's go, Zay. Oh no, Marlon's getting beat. And so it's like always positive, negative when people are having success. When it's against an opponent, you can say, okay, how are you having success? And the best part about it is you get the unbiased reporting, right? You get to see what the other reporters, opposing teams' reporters, are saying about your team's players. Because Ravens reporters are almost always just going to talk about the positives. But in the joint practices, I've looked through them. I've looked through the reports of, Commanders, reporters and Twitter accounts and such. And I was able to kind of compile a list of things that I wanted to talk about in terms of this day. So let me know in the comment section down below if I missed anything, if there's anything you want me to cover. First off, 2 fights. There were probably a little bit more scuffles, but the biggest one was with Tylan Wallace after reception, and the defender decided to try and punch the ball. Emmanuel Forbes was the defender, tries to punch the ball out just after the whistle. Tylan didn't really like that. Turns around and he kind of like punches him in the shoulder, like, hey, get off me. And then, it was fisticuffs. And if you guys have seen the video, there's some pretty funny things that happen in it. First off, is you see Justin Tucker watching it, and as the punches are thrown, he's throwing on the helmet running there. So Justin Tucker is about to smoke. He's ready for that fight. It ended with, the end of the clip is freaking Devin Duvernay running in and RKOing some random defender, just like side swipes and brings him down. It was like, okay, Devin Duvernay, you were ready for the fight. But that was the first one. The other one was with Mark Andrews and a defender. Mark Andrews felt like it was a kind of a cheap shot and ended up going, all right, that's enough, and then picked up the defender and super slammed him into the ground. He was probably about 165 pounds, and Mark Andrews just laid him out, and then obviously scuffle was created. There was another one that was a little bit smaller. It happened with Ardarius Washington. The wide receiver on the Commanders felt like he pushed him a little bit late. Nothing crazy happened with that. Groups piled together, but I wouldn't call it a fight. I would say it was kind of a, just a crowd gathering event, you could say. But that's kind of the big news that everybody's talking about. Outside of that, I think the biggest thing is Zay Flowers. He looked very, very good. I'm sure you guys have seen the clips of him on Twitter or YouTube or whatever form you want to, look at. But, he was destroying defenders in the short rounds as well as in the longer deep routes. Now, obviously, he didn't win every single rep. There were reps that I've seen from Commanders reporters of him, getting covered well. So, don't just read the Ravens stuff. Again, you're not going to, cooking him every time. But he did have a couple of very nice routes. He had a comeback route that put the defender basically on his hands and knees, trying to cover him, and it looked very good. Then he had 2 deep routes that he was able to beat the defender on. I know one of them, at least, was able to be on Emmanuel Forbes, but I don't know who the other one was on. One of them, Lamar Jackson overthrew the other. The other Zay Flowers was able to make a catch for a long touchdown. So that was big from Zay Flowers. We're able to see him running deeper routes because, in the game, he looked great. However, it was because of penalty. He's like we didn't really get to see him run that many routes. He looked very good, and he was able to draw penalties on his routes, but we didn't get to see those opportunities. We did get to see it in this joint practice today. So, it's good to know that, hey, other teams' defenders are having problems trying to cover him. He's very quick, very shifty. One-on-one he's a difficult cover. And that's what you want, especially out of a rookie, if they're able to be a difficult cover from day one. Next up, I want to talk about Sam Howell. Sam Howell had a good day. He ended up going 11 for 15 in 11 on 11s, and that's something where I think it's going to get overshadowed by everything else that was happening. But from reports that I've read, the Ravens offense versus Commanders defense, very, very physical. Was a lot less physical the other way around. So Commanders offense versus Ravens defense, there was still some stuff that goes on. I mentioned the Ardarius Washington stuff, but Sam Howell, 11 for 15. Most of it were checkdowns and intermediate routes. It wasn't a lot of big plays over the top. I did see some one-on-ones with Terry McLaurin versus Marlon Humphrey, as well as Daryl Worley versus Jahan Dotson. I did see McLaurin and Dotson both were able to win those reps, but again, very limited in what I was able to see. And then in terms of the 11 for 15 or 12 for 15, excuse me, even better than what I thought, is that something that the Ravens had problems with last year, was people being able to dink and dunk their way all the way up the field, and then the Ravens having to get kind of stingy inside the red zone and forcing field goals and trying to get turnovers. But that's something where it's like, okay, I talked about it in the offseason, the way that the Ravens were building their team, right? You sign Rock Yassin, who's not the fastest guy. You draft Caillou Blue Kelly, who, again, not the fastest guy. And it was like, okay, maybe the Ravens aren't trying to have speed on the outside. Instead, they're going to play two safeties over the top and make them beat you slowly. With how Sam Howell played in this practice, I feel like that's definitely going to be the case, because the Ravens last year, at the beginning of the year, what was happening to him? It was just big play, big play, big play. Don't even remind me of the Dolphins game. That's all it was. That's how teams were able to come back. So now it's like, okay, maybe they're trying to force teams to go underneath, and if they want to get risky, they want to try something deep, that's when the Ravens are going to capitalize and punish the opponents by getting turnovers, getting sacks and such. And speaking of sacks, one of the standout players was Odafe Oweh, who ended up having, I read as many as 3 sacks today, which is huge from a player that has been struggling to generate sacks and generate pressures throughout his young NFL career. But for him to come out and have a great practice like today, that bodes well for confidence and bodes well for the Ravens and, this upcoming season, especially at the beginning, having faith that, hey, we do have some guys that can go out there and get some sacks and get some pressures that, can develop throughout the entire season and potentially into a deep playoff run. And then finally, Odell Beckham Jr. had a decent day. It's pretty ironic. Again, I brought up, you get to read both sides of the reports, but Ravens reporters and Ravens fans were all saying that Odell was cooking Emmanuel Forbes all day long. And then I read Commanders reports, and they're like, Emmanuel Forbes is playing great defense. He's absolutely clamping Odell Beckham Jr. And I'm sure many of you have seen the post from the Commanders admin on Twitter that basically put it in the Louvre, and it's a picture of Emmanuel Forbes completely grabbing the face mask, putting the hand on the other arm with the ball in the air. And it was like, buddy, that's a little bit pass interference right there. But, overall, it was probably an even day from reading both reports. Both sides felt like their guys did very well. Odell ended up making a big catch on the sideline. I believe Lamar Jackson also overthrew him on a play, or maybe underthrew him on a play on a deep route where he had a step. Oh, that's right. He underthrew him, and Forbes was able to get a knockout because it was, if it was been thrown longer, Odell had him beat. But overall, we're hearing good news out of our wide receivers. We're getting a bit of a pass rush out of Odafe Oweh, and the team is playing very physical. Those are all things that I'm happy to hear. We're going to see what happens tomorrow. I'll make sure to make another video like this. But let me know in the comment section down below if there's anything you think I missed. Thank you all so much for watching. Subscribe for daily Ravens content, and I'll see all of you again tomorrow.